What's going on, everyone? In today's video, we have some more exciting news and awesome plays in the market. There's some more craziness going on, and Tom, I have to tell you, I'm starting to get some what we'll call reminders or flashbacks to 2021 and 2020 with the way some of these stocks are moving. One in particular is VFS, this crazy Vietnamese stock that sells electric vehicles, is now, they were already the world's third largest auto manufacturer, only behind Tesla and Toyota, but now they're worth more than Goldman Sachs and Boeing, while they lost $2 billion last year. So all in all, you guys better stick with us all the way to the end of today's video. We have a lot of important things to cover and some awesome setups for tomorrow. With that being said, Tom, let's jump right into today's episode.
Yeah, that market today was actually pretty good. We actually moved to the upside overall. We came back up and retested the trend line, which was interesting. And at the end of the day, we had a nice triple top going on around 443 to 443.50. And I'm just kind of waiting for this breakout up above this trend line, Mike. We've been watching this for a little while, and I feel like that the market's starting to get some better price action coming in. We actually saw a lot of these tech stocks hold their ground today, if not even go up in a lot of cases, like Meta, Apple, and a couple others had actually pretty good recoveries. But talking about moves to the upside, VinFast, which you hinted at, is on fire right now. It looks like they didn't even have a good move today. It was kind of choppy, but it was up 20%, even though it didn't, necessarily look like that, because the moves lately have been insane. This thing's been up like well over 200, almost, Mike, I'm 400% plus right now from the lows just a couple weeks ago. So it's insane to see with VinFast here, and it seems like the good news just keeps coming for them. Like, I cannot believe it, Mike. They're holding up as the third most valuable automaker right now, and I cannot believe that they're actually selling more vehicles than like Rivian and Lucid are right now, or at least they're very close. Like, I just can't believe that.
Yeah, so this company is wild to say the least, and if you're buying this, I don't know what to tell you, honestly. So we talked about this stock last week, and long story short, this stock just came onto the market, and they are running like one of those crazy meme stocks that is just ridiculously overvalued and will soon face reality, right? But for the time being, they're living the good life. But basically what's going on is this Vietnamese company, they're apparently the world's third largest auto manufacturer. They're worth like $150 billion. They're worth more than, you could say, Ford, General Motors, Ferrari, and a bunch of other companies like that. And they're just, their sales don't match up with it. There's a little bit of a problem, we'll say. And, like many stocks like this, eventually their day comes and their stock price gets corrected. Now looking at it right now, it has a bunch of hype and momentum to the upside in the short term, and it's just all over the place, which makes it good for short-term trading. But if you think about holding this thing, there's something seriously wrong, and you should really evaluate that decision, because this stock is extremely overvalued. And now on top of it, Tom, for the real gamblers, now they enabled options on this crazy stock. Oh boy.
Oh my gosh, now there's options on it, so it's going to be fun, Mike. We're going to see some crazy percentages going through, that's for sure. But looking at VinFast, I mean, it's been an insane stock the past few days, and let me know if you guys have been trading it at all down in the comments. Personally, I've been staying away. I generally don't like to trade these types of stocks. I would rather trade good moves on like Nvidia or normal stocks like that, but I do think that these stocks and companies are extremely interesting. And whenever I look at VinFast, you go look at their vehicles, it's actually pretty good. And when I see their projections for sales, it really does blow my mind that they're going to be selling as many, I think they're projecting like 50,000 vehicles sold in 2023. That is quite a bit. So I think it's even more than like Lucid and Rivian will hit. We'll have to see where they end up, but it's definitely interesting whenever you look at these other companies and you look at them, how they're running up. And I'm not saying that they're worth the price they are right now by any means, and that's just a different subject, but it is a pretty interesting company, Mike, and they do make pretty cool looking vehicles, so I'll give them that. But it's just that valuation Man, whenever you see when you go back to that chart and you're looking at companies like Mercedes, Volkswagen, Ford, General Motors, and you're saying VinFast is bigger than Ford. I mean, we're talking about the guys who made like the first vehicle out here, and Mercedes. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, VinFast is a stock that you could have fun with, but it's not one you want to stick around with for the long term. So keep that in mind going forward. But some other news came out today with a stock that has also been pretty crazy lately, and that is HE, which is Hawaiian Electric. So there was recently a horrible fire in Hawaii. I'm sure most of us already know about it by now. It was actually the deadliest in the U.S. in more than a century. But long story short, this company, Hawaiian Electric, has been getting most of the blame for this, for these wildfires in Hawaii. And basically they got sued, and today they pushed back saying like, hey, it wasn't really our fault. And the stock popped up by basically 45% today off of that news, but it's definitely moving with some serious momentum.
It really is. I mean, that stock is starting to really get up there. 44% is no joke. Now, I will say they fell down so much lately that this 44% move really doesn't look like anything, which might be fun for traders out there. Like, if we continue to see good momentum here, I think that they could go up. And I know that there's been a lot of news lately about the wildfires and Hawaiian Electric. I mean, Mike, everybody already knows this was the energy weapons, right? So we'll have to see how you guys like that one down in the comments. But either way, they're saying that, like, look at this. The power lines toppled by high winds that caused this brush fire had been off for hours when the second fire actually happened that afternoon. So they're saying it's not really their fault. I would think that they could start to go up a lot more off of that news, considering how much they're down. And in the short term, I'm kind of watching $17 to $20 as maybe a target for the next few days. I feel like that's a pretty safe area considering we're at 14 right now.
Yeah, so this stock got taken out by the knees over the past couple weeks, as you'd expect. It basically went from $40 all the way down to like $9, and now it's back up around 14. It's one of the most volatile stocks in the market right now. I do not think it's necessarily like a bad setup. It's just extremely volatile. So if you're into more of that higher risk, higher reward type of stocks, you can say maybe keep a close eye on this one. But, it's extremely volatile, and there's going to be a whole lot more volatility with this one over the next couple weeks and months as the lawsuit progresses.
Yeah, and it's just going to be a pretty risky play in general as well. And I feel like it's going to be one of those plays you just have to feel out that momentum. Like today, it was having some very nice like staircasing back to that top around like 1450. So that was a pretty nice thing to see. Maybe if you get in on like one of those staircase moves tomorrow, that could be a good option. But Mike, I know that these China stocks actually had some pretty good news today. And man, you've been talking about them quite a bit the past few weeks, especially Baba and a few others.
Oh yeah, so basically these crazy China stocks have some interesting news going on. And the last time we saw news like this was all the way back in the Great Recession in 2008. So basically what we have going on right now is the Chinese economy is kind of struggling in multiple different areas, especially like the real estate market and that side of things. And basically the Chinese government right now is like, hey, we got to get our shit together. Stocks need to start going up, and, let's get the money pumping again, right? And basically what happened is China is really incentivizing investors to, have the stocks to start to go up. And basically they cut their tax on stock trading by like 50%, which will help a good amount. And on top of that, they did like a surprise rate cut last week. And overall, they're just trying to get the money flowing like it used to, right? Looking at China stocks right now, they did pop up off of this news. And, this is the first, what you can call tax cut for stock trades since 2008. So it's definitely not something you see every couple of years.
So, Mike, I'm not going to say it's exactly the same situation as Powell with the money printer here, but in a way, China's kind of like opening the floodgates and turning on their printers, right?
I guess you can say that.
Yeah, it sounds like they're kind of trying it, and I would think that this would definitely help China stocks. And, China is a country that is known for heavy regulations in just about every aspect of their country. So to see this happening is actually a really good sign. And with the way China stocks are right now, even like the big ETFs that incorporate a bunch of different China stocks, like FXI, there's a whole bunch in here. I was looking, there was a bunch of Chinese investment companies, tech stocks, of course, and just all types of stocks. And that's a huge support around $26. I know we're at $27.50 right now, but in the grand scheme of things, we're pretty low. Like recent highs were around 30 to 33 back in January of this year, but the recent high was back in July at 30. So I feel like there could be a pretty good move back up the next couple months, at least maybe to some of those resistances there.
Yeah, so this is a setup that I do like. Looking at FXI, basically it's like, at an extremely low point, and on top of that, it's just like, what we saw in 2020 to a certain extent. It's like when you see a government, especially a government that has some power, whether it be the United States or China or India or whatever, when they impose regulations or, pump or deflate the market, it's kind of hard to fight that, and I don't think you should be fighting that. When China, puts these regulations into place and, incentivizes the market to move a certain way, a lot of times the government gets what it wants. And on top of that, like China has implemented like more regulations and restrictions with like short selling and just selling overall lately. So overall, I really do like the risk-reward setup with FXI right now. I think it has potential in the short term and honestly, even the long term. So it's just something to keep in mind because like I said, this type of news is not something you see very often.
Yeah, it's not. And with China, we all know how big their influence is on just about everything. I mean, whenever I see the stats of how much stuff in the United States comes from China, it blows my mind. Even like all of our medicines and stuff, the majority come from there because I know the majority of most products already come from there. But then even like medicine and even other like little things that normally people don't think about, but it's definitely a big thing, Mike. And, we're talking about China with regulations and everything like that. I'll tell you what, the U.S. needs to try to start doing their money printers. I mean, we need something. Our economy's been rough lately, and look at these delinquency rates on these credit card loans here.
Yeah, they're going vertical, unfortunately. So basically, just like you said, the delinquency rate on credit cards have been increasing, and so much so that it's actually higher than what we saw before the pandemic even happened. Now, with that being said, it's not as high as it was like in the Great Recession or, in the early 2000s or stuff like that. But, either way, when you see delinquencies rising this much, this quickly, you can't help but wonder, like, what will this rate look like in a year from now or 2 years from now? And, with the current way it's moving, it's kind of scary and it's not something you want to think about.
Exactly. And, that's a big problem in the economy is obviously credit card delinquencies. People talk about that as an aspect of the economy all the time because it doesn't just, it's obviously, it's always bad. Like, right. Like whenever you see, like bigger investors and big institutions getting hurt, like big banks and stuff like that. But it's a little bit different with, credit cards and different aspects of that economy. It kind of shows more of like how the consumer is doing more than maybe the bigger players out there. So I do think this is interesting. And I feel like going forward here with what Powell and the Feds have been doing lately, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse until they start to finally maybe lower those rates back down and then start to turn those printers on again. But for right now, as we saw yesterday on the chart, that money's just been leaving the economy lately like crazy.
Oh yeah, it's vacuum season, Tom. There's no printers going on for at least a couple more years, right? We'll wait until inflation calms down, and then maybe Powell will give us the blessing and turn those printers right back on. But we'll see what happens. But for tomorrow, we do actually have some pretty exciting movement ahead of us as we have earnings set to report. So, Tom, what are the stocks we need to watch?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch, but the big one for the week, I think the most popular one is NEO, and that one's happening tomorrow before the market opens. We'll have to see how NEO does. Obviously, those delivery numbers are important, and obviously the overall revenue compared to expectations will be a big thing to see, but NEO is a China stock, so it was good to see them have that news today, and even PDD, another China stock, is reporting tomorrow, so I like that. With Best Buy, they can go pretty crazy at times. With HP Q and HPE reporting in after hours there. And Wednesday, we have CrowdStrike and Salesforce with Chewy in after hours. So it's going to be a pretty big week. I know it's not like Apple or anything like that, but these are some pretty big, respectful stocks here.
Alrighty, yeah, NEO is going to be the play of the week, I'd say, in terms of earnings. This stock moves in some pretty big ways. Most of it's been to the downside over the past couple years, but, besides that, it has had some pretty insane upwards movement as well. Keep an extra close eye on this one for tomorrow. It will move in a big way. But with that being said, Tom, I want to start talking about some of the fun stuff, which is some setups for tomorrow. One stock I'm watching very closely is Penn, Penn. This stock was soaring to the upside for a second there when they announced their deal for ESPN bet, their sports betting deal with ESPN. But since then, the stock has fallen quite a bit. It has based around a pretty big support level, right around $22 to $23 a share. It's holding strong now, and I think the overall risk-reward setup is pretty favorable with this one. It has some resistance around 25, but I would not be surprised to see this one touch like the 25.50 to maybe even the $26 level over the next week or maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would love to see this one recover up, Mike. I bought some shares whenever it popped up with the ESPN bet. I'm not going to lie. This one kicked me down pretty hard there. I didn't give very much, though, because I'll give it this. I definitely left room to average in, so I'll be averaging in as time goes forward. But I'm definitely watching Penn Gaming back to the upside as well. I hope that news helps him out, and especially whenever the betting apps and stuff like that start to be more pronounced. And for tomorrow, I'm watching Oxy. I saw that these energy stocks did very well. CCJ was a close second on my mentions as well. If they break 36.80, I like them up, and I do like Oxy to the upside as well. If they can break above 62.50, that intraday resistance there, if they end up breaking that, I'll definitely be looking at calls. These oil stocks are kind of basing off support, and I'm kind of liking that move back up here recently. It's been nice because if you haven't been following oil, they've been kind of dipping down the past few weeks with the market.
Yep. Alrighty. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is BABA, B-A-B-A. This stock had a decent day today, popping up around by 2.7%. This stock does like to move a lot in pre-market as, trades overseas. But overall, I think this one is showing some pretty good potential for a nice room up. So I'm going to have a pretty close eye on this one to the upside for the next couple days.
Yeah, I like this. Nice stock here, starting to break out above some of these resistances. And with the good news, how could you not look at the China stocks for tomorrow? It's got to be in these plays, right? At least here, or the momentum plays. I had to be somewhere. But looking at my next play, I'm looking at AMD. And I know that we've been pretty bearish the past couple weeks, right? We've been talking about a lot of puts and obviously downside opportunities here. AMD's bouncing around $100 even, and I noticed the SPY is actually starting to break or test a pretty big trend line here back to the upside. If we see the SPY breaking out above like 443.50 and 444 to the upside, I will definitely be looking at calls on AMD. So we have the trend line on SPY combined with this big $100 support. And just because if we go to the book map, you can see all those buyers at $100 right here in real time. And you can see the sellers actually stacking in here, bringing in some liquidity overhead, which might make it pretty hard for AMD to go up. But if we do start to break some of these levels like 103 and 104 to the upside, I would think we could start to have a pretty good breakout, especially with that support down around 100. If you guys want access to this, check out the link down below for Bookmap. It's awesome. It's like X-ray vision. You can see where all these big orders are coming into the market, and you see them come in and out at real time. Like you see how like right here where my cursor is, how it disappeared. That's because those buyers actually got out right there, or they took the orders away. So keep that in mind. It shows all those orders there coming in and out, and it's a pretty big advantage, especially for scalping and day trading.
It is an absolute war between the buyers and sellers right now on AMD. I love how you can see exactly where those sellers are lined up as well as the buyers. If you guys want to see the what we'll call inside view to the war that goes on every single day between buyers and sellers, you have to check out Bookmap. There's nothing else like it that allows you to visualize the order flow like Bookmap does. So if you want to check it out, it's going to be that first link in the description and the comments down below. if you use our link, you will save. We have a special offer attached to it, so definitely check it out. But with that being said, Tom, let's jump right into today's momentum plays, and with the first one, we have CCJ to the upside.
Yeah, beautiful here. If they break 36.80, go ahead and watch them up. I love this stock over the past couple months, Mike. And if we go back to that daily chart, we still have your support down there. We just keep getting higher and higher. So watch 36.80, even 37. You can watch that too.
Yeah, we were talking about this stock back in the good old days when it was trading for like $22 or $21 a share. And I know a good amount of people picked up shares back then. But, I'm definitely not complaining. My CCJ shares are looking pretty damn good, and I know a lot of people are happy. But for CCJ, we are watching this one for a potential day trade to the upside tomorrow, only if it breaks above the level Tom listed. Tom, with the next one, we have PayPal also to the upside.
PYPL. We've also been talking about this one quite a bit. It hasn't done anything the past couple weeks, but it has been moving up pretty well, and we're starting to hold at $60. So if we break 62 to 62.50 to the upside, I will look at calls.
Alrighty, and then with the last one, we have NVIDIA for both directions.
Yeah, NVIDIA, they had a nice pop. If they break above 470, eye up those calls to the upside. That's going to be a pretty big level. But if they end up breaking down below 464, then watch those puts. That'll be just below that 465 area.
All right, so we have that downside level for puts. We have the upside level for calls for NVIDIA. Don't forget about PayPal and CCJ with those upside levels as well. If they break above those levels, we are watching them for calls. But it is now time for the big money $1.2 million trade of the day. And we are looking at ticker symbol AKRO. A lot of you guys probably hear this stock and think, what is that? And my answer to that question is exactly. Basically, this company is a biotech stock. So, these types of stocks are pretty crazy because if they've come out with like a, revolutionary new cure for cancer or like, anything, right? Anything in the biotechnology space, they can move up or down a lot. Sometimes the news is great and they 10x. Sometimes the news is horrible and they lose everything. So these stocks are super crazy. But long story short, we have big money betting that this stock has a lot of room to rise. Right now, it's trading for around $50 a share. Some big money trader made a bet that this stock will go up. More specifically, they bought the 55 strike calls. They shorted the 70 strike calls, both of which expire on November 17th. And if it goes up, they'll make multiple millions of dollars. Looking at this trade, Tom, it's a high-risk play, but overall, I like it. And when you see a trade like this, I'll say this. The trader behind this trade isn't randomly putting $1.2 million into this options trade for no reason, So take of that information what you will.
Man, this stock has been on a run the past few years. It was like at 12, now it's all the way up around 50, and it's holding higher. I mean, I could see it going up too. So I like the play. I think it's pretty interesting to say the least. It's a lot of money going in there, so you got to look at it. I think that for like the long term, it wouldn't be a play that I necessarily hold forever, but I think maybe trying to follow this into November could be a good idea. And this stock is very not correlated to the SPY, or it has very bad correlation to the SPY, I should say. So that's another good thing. If the SPY starts to underperform the next couple months, we're going into the worst month of the year historically. So if that happens, at least this stock will have a mind of its own too.
Let's go. All right, Tom. Well, let's have a good week this week, right? So far this month, there has not been one instance where the market has had back-to-back green days. So, it's not the best sign. But, hey, I don't think that's necessarily a bad sign either because the most of this month has been pretty awesome to trade. We've seen a pretty good shift in the markets that is necessary, and it's just a good thing when the market changes from time to time because as long as the price action is consistent and momentum filled, it just makes short-term trading so much easier. I'll put it that way. But, looking at the market for this week, we have some exciting earnings on the schedule. The market is, it's in a battle right now. Bulls are not fully in control right now, and neither are the Bears. So, Tom, let's have a solid week. There are some good opportunities setting up, as we talked about in today's video. Is there anything else that's on your mind or anything else you're hiding from us?
Yeah, one last thing. Just keep your eyes on gold and silver. I know we didn't mention it in today's video. I feel like we've been mentioning it so much. I didn't want to say it again, Mike, because we've said it so much in the past few videos. But gold and silver are still on the radar too, just like those energy stocks CCJ and Oxy and ZOM. So I'll definitely be watching these. Definitely good to see it starting to go up again. And I feel like that even if, some fear starts creeping in, that'll even help these metals out too.
There we go. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you are new to the channel, join the Stocked Up crew. Absolutely obliterate that subscribe button. When you do, you'll hear more of us more often, which is a good thing most of the time. So join the crew. You'll see our videos recommended to you more often. And we want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Rob20. RX7. You had a great trade with Baba this morning, banking around $1,500. So awesome job, Rob. Keep up the great work. And besides that, guys, let's have an amazing week in the markets.